So firstly, I'd like to thank everyone that's been buying the Unknown Performance t-shirts. As you can see here, we've got some different colours now. So on the left, you've got the navy blue that you was asking for. And we've got the grey in the middle as well. And we've got some bigger sizes in the black as well. So like double XLs, triple XL. So for the bigger guys that were asking. So we've restocked them. And these are up on the website right now. So go and check them out. The link's in the description. So something that's been really bugging me about this car since I got it. If you have an Astra G, you understand the feeling. These stock shifters are like lorries, so the throw is so big on them, it really feels really weird, especially when you're used to a short shifter or really short shifter like my track car. The shifter is so far, the throw, you can see how big it is like compared to a modern car. The actual play in the stick is non-existent, so it's lovely when it's in gear. There's no movement or anything like that, so it's a shame because I'm going to change this over to a different unit because the ProDrive cars and the GSIs come with a different gear knob. You can see this is like a stock gear knob of like a, you know, a base model. It's in really good condition, but it's got to come off. So we've got some silver ones. I've got two to choose from. I've got an Ermischer one or the alloy GSI one, so I'll show you them now. So this ain't the funnest job in the world to get this gear selector out. You can see obviously you have to take this center console out to get to it. I just want to show you quickly where the screws are for this, so you can see either side the screws there. You've got a screw where you've got to pull this seat forward, so you have to pull the seat right forward, and there's a screw behind there as well. Obviously I've got an armrest on this, so I've had to remove the armrest. You've got a screw as well here underneath the sort of where the OBD2 port cover goes. So this cover goes over the top of there, and there's the OBD2 port. It's a bit filthy down there, so I'll give that a clean when it's underneath, when I'm underneath there. Then you've got to remove all this lot, you know, and it just slides out. So it's not the easiest job in the world to do, but once you've done it a few times, you know, on the track cars it's a really quick job. On these sort of cars it ain't, so we're going to remove this now. It's still got the original sound deadening down here as well, or the foam, whatever that's for. Right, so these are the two gear knobs that we've got to choose from. So if you've got an Astra GSI, you'll know that this comes stock on the left here. This one is the Astra GSI gear knob, and it's anodized clear. It's actually a solid bit of aluminium. You can feel it's freezing cold when you touch it, so you know that's the aluminium one. So you can see here, these are very close together. These come in the ProDrive cars for some of them, and they come in Ermischer cars, and they're an option as well. You can see here, these are like a plastic style that are painted silver, very hard wearing, very nice, and because they're plastic, they ain't as cold in the winter. Not that really matters. But what we've got here as well on this one, because this one came out of my race car, you've got the extra long shifter as well to make that throw on the gear stick really short. But obviously the problem is, because it is so long, it actually bottoms out on the tunnel of the car, and you can see here there's no movement there. So what I have to do is I use them in a razor. You can see I've got 100mm razors here on the race cars, but then we don't use the actual center consoles on the race cars, so this will be no good anyway. So what I'm going to probably do is either use that one with that super long one, or this one here has got the R&D one, which is a little bit shorter, you can see, and it actually clears, so you can actually have this flat. So I'm not sure if I go with that one. I've got two different setups to try, so I'm going to pull that center console out now and see which one I like better. This one had been rebuilt. If you hadn't seen that, go back and look the other videos. I've rebuilt this with all new bushes and everything, so it's really, really tight. There's no movement in gear. This one hasn't been rebuilt. This was out of an Astra GSI that I stripped, so there is a little bit of play in it. You can see there, that little bit of play really bugs me. So I probably am going to go with this one, but I don't know which extra short shifter that I'm going to put on it yet, whether I'm going to be able to put this one in it, space it a little bit off the bottom of the floor, off the tunnel, and actually use this one, because I've never used one of these without a gear stick razor. So this ain't the funnest job in the world to get this gear selector out. You can see obviously you have to take this center console out to get to it. I just want to show you quickly where the screws are for this, so you can see either side the screws there. You've got a screw where you've got to pull this seat forward, so you have to pull the seat right forward, and there's a screw behind there as well. Obviously I've got an armrest on this, so I've had to remove the armrest. You've got a screw as well here underneath the sort of where the OBD2 port cover goes. So this cover goes over the top of there, and there's the OBD2 port. And then you've got to remove all this lot, you know, and it just slides out. So it's not the easiest job in the world to do, but once you've done it a few times, you know, on the track cars it's a really quick job. On these sort of cars it ain't, so we're going to remove this now. It's still got the original sound deadening down here as well. So center console's out of the way now. You can see you get to this gear selector easy. Someone's already tore this foam, which is quite annoying, so I'll probably just glue that back together. But once you get this foam out of the way, there is some torques either side. You've probably seen this before, so you just undo these torques. You've got to undo these clips here, so you just prise them together, and then obviously you just pull these up. Never do these with screwdrivers. I've seen so many of them break. Just do it with your hand, you know, do it with your finger if you're strong enough like that, and you'll get it off. And then just push these together. I'll do it with my finger as well, and these just clip up. So I'm so used to doing it now, I can do it without any tools. So the selector is out now. A couple of torques and then you get them out really easy. Just obviously took off the cables at the bottom of the selector. So when I put this back together, I'll show you how to use this pin to centralise this back in neutral. I was going to give this a hoover quickly because we've got some nasty bits of grime that's built up over the years. Give this a hoover and we can get this new selector in. So always this grey selector goes on the left hand side. So you can clearly see here the difference between the two gear extenders. The one on the left's aluminium, one on the right stainless. I'm not really sure which one to go with yet. I'm just going to pick and choose as we go. You can see there's a big difference in length, which means that obviously the one on the left is going to have to be spaced up a little bit to clear the floor pan. Otherwise the selector's not actually going to clear the floor pan itself. You see it's going to touch here. I've just mocked it up already. So we'd have to put spacers in there. And then we've got the problem is with this gear stick selector, it might get tight. So I might just go with this shorter one for now. It won't be as short as throw, but it will still shorten the throw a lot. So I've changed my mind here and I've went for the longer extension here just to give me that extra short shift. Now that's the good thing about these videos is I sort of change my mind throughout the episode and you see the thought processes that are going on. I don't edit them out. I like to let people see that, you know, people change their mind. You know, you can do things and you want to do different things throughout the episode, and rather than editing out, I like to let you see that. So what I've tried is I've tried to fit one of my gear stick razors, and you can see this is a 60mm one I've got here at the minute. I was even thinking of chopping it down, so obviously we chop off the top part here, so it would actually be a 40mm. So you can see that fits in there nicely like that. But what I've done is I put the center console over the top of it, and it was too high. It sat in there nicely if I didn't want to put in this leather gear stick, you know, cover. But it just looked too, you know, it'd be all right on a race car if you was going to have like a full out track car, but I wanted this to look a little bit OEM. And you can see here I've removed the bonnet razors from the bonnet of the car, and funnily enough they actually act really nicely as a spacer. So they're about 12mm spacers. You can see they're aluminium and they're an 8mm bore, which is exactly the same as what is on the selector. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to use these, and you can see here what I showed you before. It protrudes about, I don't know, 10mm through the bottom of the gear stick, and then that would obviously rub on the floor here. So you can see where I've tested it already and it's been scraping on the floor. So what I'm going to do now, and remove that, which I would actually like to run because that's really cool. I'm going to try putting in these spacers in here instead, so like reusing some parts, and they're obviously a high quality anodized part, which is cool, and then see if that works, which it really should. And then that brings it up a little bit as well, so it does make it a little bit more sporty, because obviously I've got this rest here, which obviously I'm recovering soon, and it sits about here, so your arm sits on it nicely like it would on my bucket seat, and then you can have a nice short shift so it feels a bit more racy. So one thing I really haven't gone over is the modification of this plastic surround, because obviously all mine are all short shifters and I've all done these myself. So you can see here how much material that I've moved out of this to make this selection fit, because obviously it would all interfere in here and it would touch this casing. You can see this one's been modified by someone else. This is the one that come off the car. You can see with the standard shifter, and you can see how badly it's been done. You know, we see a lot of bodges on the channel, and this is another one of them. So you can see it compared to the one on the right that I've done, all nice and smooth, and how much material is left in here. Now on the stock shifter you would have this section in here and it would still come across here, so there's loads of plastic in here. So some has been removed, but it's just been done terribly. You can see there's even a long cut out here. They don't really know what it was going for. So look at it side by side, you can see how much more material I've moved out. Now what happens is, if you put a short shifter on that, this is all going to catch. It's all going to catch on side here. You're going to jam up and you're not going to be able to get it in gear properly. So if I was to fit this selector, I would have to cut this all out properly. You can see how much material has been removed. So if you're doing it yourself, that's how it's supposed to look. That is the maximum amount of material you need to take out, and you can see that that has been fitted with the extra long shifter and it still fits in there perfectly. So if you're doing it yourself, have a look at that. That's how much material you need to move. Do it properly, smooth it nicely with a file and everything, and it will look good and it will work like OEM. So obviously where these standard bolts bolt through the floor here, where we're going to go for a longer spacer on there now, I need to you know, account for that extra length. So we've gone with this extra long stainless bolt, so a little bit of an upgrade as well. Just going to bang a washer on there, and that will account for the extra 12mm. You can see the length difference on there, and that's going to fit perfectly and not going to have no problems with going through the floor pan. So here we go, the spacers are in. You can see them just about down there. Let's zoom in. There you go, so they're in there, so like 12mm spacers or whatever they are. I had to make a little adjustment to this plastic cowling here, so you just trimmed that up a little bit, and the same around this side here, but it fits in there nicely, nice and solid. You can see no movement or anything. So just going to clip these in to their holders like that now, and obviously they're still in here, they're loose at the minute. So I'm going to show you how to set this up quickly using this pin at the back here. Basically locks this selector up and gets it into neutral position, and then that's done really. On this selector, to get it into neutral position, obviously to set up these cables, what you've got to do that is you've got to wiggle around this ball joint until that pushes in, because there's two holes in the back of this ball joint here, which then this will lock it into neutral, and then we can clip in them cables. Pin is all the way in there, and you can see that is locked in position, that is in neutral position. You can see it moves in like that, and then obviously once it comes back into its normal position, which is there, this will move around everywhere. And then basically just try and do it one hand is a little bit difficult, like that, and that goes in, and that's locked in position now. So that's in neutral position, and then all you literally have to do is push down these clips. So that one's done, and that one's done. And now you pull that pin back out into its normal selection position, just prise it back out, it comes out nice and smoothly as long as you've greased it up in the past. Sits there in its position, and then now that is locked in position. So we can go through gears like so. Oh my god, that is so short. That is beautiful. What a difference that makes compared to a standard shifter. God, if you haven't tried that. I've never had it in an OEM car. I've only ever had them in race cars with like the high shifters, obviously. The throw, look at that throw. It's tiny. So that's neutral, third. So if you know these cars, you'll know how much throw there is from stock. So I'm looking forward to driving this on the road, and it's so tight in position as well compared to the old one, because obviously we rebuilt this one. So now we can put on all the centre console back in, get this back together, tight as anything. That's brilliant. So I'm looking forward to driving that. Whole centre console, everything's back together as if by magic. Now you can see how much nicer that gear stick looks in silver as well. Goes with the car, obviously being a silver car, and it feels so much better to drive. Obviously I know you can't feel it, but the throw, you can see where you've got the armrest to just rest your arm on. You can tap it backwards and forwards, and you know, if you've got a standard selector on your Astra, you know that it's like a tractor unit. You know, you're pulling it backwards and forwards. With this, it's almost like you can feel how tight it is. It's like a rifle. If you put in a selector on here or a short shift on a gear stick that's got a lot of play in it, you're really not going to dramatically improve it that much. You've actually got to change the bushes and everything inside the selector. If you go back and look at my previous videos, you'll see where I changed that and I rebuilt the whole selector. And you can see now where it's raised up a little bit, so it would be down about here normally, so it's up here a little bit more now, and it just feels a lot better. The Astra's a little bit low, so you can just literally cruise around, and I'm very happy with that. So we're going to take it out for a drive, but it's as tight as anything now, so much better with that selector in there. It's going to give this interior a bit of a clean up now, clean up these seats a little bit, because I haven't actually cleaned them up, and they will come up nicely once I use some like interior cleaner. One thing this car needs on it now is a Cupra splitter to lower that front end a little bit. Now you can see that it looks quite nice on the Pro Drive bumper. I do like the way they look. You can see one over there that I'm throwing out at the minute. That's come off from my other track car. Chopped that in half because it's retiring, that one. So you can see the Pro Drive bumper does look good, but you can see, like I said, obviously the car's filthy at the minute, it needs a wash, but the arch gap on the front at the minute is massive. Now I've got lowering springs, as I said, I've got coilovers, whatever, but it ruins the ride of the car. So I'm trying to get around it, trying to like keep the car at a sensible height and keep it handling well, because at the minute it handles absolutely amazingly, because it's got a lot of like play and travel in the shocks and the spring setup, because it's got E-back springs, Bilstein shocks, so and 88R tyres, Team D's, it grips really well. I would like to drop it on the front a little bit. I wish they'd done E-back springs that were lower, so they're high quality springs, because the cheaper springs just get coil band. But to do the, just to make the front look a little bit more aggressive, I'm going to put a Cupra splitter on the front just to lower it a little bit. So because these come in like a nasty grey colour, and you have to keep back to black shining them or whatever, what I normally do is just smooth them down, bit of high build primer and a couple of coats of satin black. They get battered up anyway, so it's not going to matter that too much about how they look. You can see it looks all right anyway. It just I like to have that black look to them, that satin black look. Just looks like OEM, but without having to keep back to back shining them. So just give it a quick lick of paint. This is ready to go on now. Just trimmed up these middle sections as well, smoothed it down. Jobs are good, and so we can get this on now. So I'm just removing a set of GSI arch spats off of a GSI that was chopped up just to get the arch spats off. You can see here, it's one way to remove them. But it was just, I was just actually thinking that, you know, these genuine arch spats, I've actually got a few pairs of them. You've got some more here. I've actually, like a whole GSI has had to give up its life just for a set of arch spats. So you can see obviously this has been chopped up off a GSI because they're really difficult to remove. So that's what I'm having trouble with at the minute, but I normally can get them off. They're really strong adhesive. You can see in here that I slice and cut and heat up, and you can get them off. So I've just removed the rear window tint off the car, but you can see here, because it's got a heated screen, you can see it's like bubbled around where the heated screen lines were. Obviously it got too hot and bubbled, and I don't know if it was made for that or whatever, if it was on too long, don't know. But I'm going to get it done again in a darker colour. But now I've got the lovely job of trying to get rid of all this sticky adhesive that comes with it. This intensive tire remover normally removes it along with like white spirit or brake cleaner. So I'm going to go at it now. It's going to take a little while to do, but you can see where it was bubbling all around where the lines were, and it was just doing my head in. So I thought I'd get rid of it, clean it up, and then get someone else to tint it back up again with an even darker colour. So silver bodywork obviously hides a lot, and you can see that I really need to get on with sorting this paint out on this car. Look how flat this paint is at the minute, where it's been sitting for so long. It's literally like a matte finish. It's got no shine to it at all. And from a distance, you know, can't really tell. You can see there it looks all right in the picture, but you look up close, you can see how flat it is. There's no reflection at all. So I'm just going to stick a bit of tape down the middle. I'm going to do one side. I'm not going to have to show you how to do it. You know how to do it by now. So just going to compound it, give it a bit of polish and that, get a little bit of detail, and try and get some reflection back into this silver, because at the minute it's really, really flat. Well, just went over it for a few times with some good old Maguire's compound and good old Maguire's ultimate polish. See I run a tape down the middle here. You can see this is the shine that I've got. You can see that's the line where the tape was. You see the shine, and then there's the matte finish, so you can see how dull the paint was before and how shiny it is now. You see the reflection in it a lot better than it was just a second ago. You can actually see the reflection in the roof, and then got to do this side on this side here. So you see I run the tape down the middle like that, and that side is still flat. You can't even see a thing through it, and then this side's like a mirror finish again. So obviously I ain't got wax on this yet, but it's a lovely, lovely smooth finish now. I think the paint's a lot easier to see from this side. You can see the dullness, how flat it is going into the shine, so you can actually have a reflection now. The silver's very hard to pick up on, but I think that's clear as day. So that's how flat the paintwork was, and it didn't actually look it from a distance, and then when you get up close it's really bad. So we're gonna have a nice reflection now. Silver's gonna actually pop like it should. Star Silver 3 does actually look really good when it's shiny. Well, obviously it's very difficult to see, but that's been polished and waxed now. You can see the difference like between the matte finish that was with it, and you can clearly see how nice it is now, because the tub won't even stay on the roof. So obviously you have to take my word for it. You can see how much better that is than obviously the bodywork. So now we've done the roof, got to get on the rest of it. So that's the sort of finish that I'm going to be looking for all over the car. Beautiful mirror finish like that, and you can see it compared to the actual bodywork itself. There's no mirror in it. So getting on with the rest of the bodywork now. So that's the Cupra R splitter fitted. You can see how much more lower it makes that front bumper look. It looks really nice on there. It really goes with these bumpers if you do them properly. You can fit them to the OPC, you can fit them to the Pro Drive. I really like the Pro Drive bumpers. They've got a different look to them, especially when they're lower. On the red cars they stand out a little bit more, but on the silver cars they still look good. You can see that the splitter has been trimmed around the wheel. It's a bit hard to see at the minute because it's really sunny, but now we've got the whole side of this polished as well and waxed. and we've actually got some shine back onto it. So, you know, you see about black cars with the shine. It's hard to see from a distance, but I've put a lot of care into this, and you can see the car almost disappears. So it ain't just black cars that can be made to look good, it is silver cars as well. So if I took that picture there, you wouldn't even see a car in the picture. So yeah, the shine on the paintwork is much better now, and the car's looking decent. I think it looks good on the Team Ds, almost like a little replica of this old car, this silver car, the track car that I've really got to do something with, get rid of it soon. This car is actually straighter than this car, even though this car is a really straight car. This one's going in a scrap pile, which is a real shame, but it's such a straight car. I ain't got a dent or a mark on it, and that's really why I've kept it so long and just not got rid of it, because I don't know what to do with it. It's basically a perfect shell for someone, but I don't know if I can get rid of it and let someone else be driving it around. So it's quite an awkward situation. I mean, at the minute I'm just going to keep stripping parts off it till I hate it, I think. So I don't really know why, but I'm not actually loving the engine bay on this red car. I know the obviously the actual bay itself's all been smoothed, seam sealer's been removed, everything's been smoothed at the bulkhead, whatever. A lot of people wouldn't even notice that if they first see it. But the engine bay, just to me, looks a bit untidy, and you know, I know it looks clean to you on the pictures or whatever, but well, just to me, it doesn't. I'm liking the engine bay on the silver car a little bit more. I'm thinking of painting these boost pipes black. I don't really like all this shiny bling and that everywhere. I'd even change all the pipework to black as well, just to give it that stealth look. Stick some verniers on there. I've got a clear cover. I've got to put a breather system on there in the future. The issue is, the reason I haven't done it so far is because normally they have to bolt to the back of the bulkhead, which I didn't really want to cut or drill into. So I'd have to work out a way if I could get a bracket on there without doing that. Maybe able to bolt it, like actually sandwich it on the back. I'm not sure yet, I have to work that out. Also, the side of it where the ECU goes, obviously you knew I was going to wire tuck this at one point, but then I decided not to. My fault plans on it all changed or whatever. So at the minute it's still got the wiring in there, and the ECU sits in its original position. Now I don't know whether to drill holes into that because it's all been smoothed, and when it was painted, you can see here, do I drill holes into it? Do I put a battery tray back in it? I really don't know. You know, I'm trying to work out the best ways to make this look tidy, because at the minute I just can't get my head around it. I just can't look at it and think, oh, that looks a nice engine bay, because it doesn't. At the minute I much prefer the look of the engine bay on this car. I know like the wiring's a little bit untidy because I haven't tidied all that up, so it would obviously be tidier, but the black look I'm talking about, so the black on black and everything, and the way that the battery actually covers up the gearbox as well, I like that as well. We've got obviously got this ECU cover, that would look smart if I put that on there. I'm going to get a brand new header tank for that, because that just smarten up the engine bay a little bit, and probably this had some covers on it for the turrets, and you know, probably cover up bits like that and bits like these, easy enough to cover up. But I just think that looks smart, you know, that engine bay looks smart. Obviously this section's cut out on the red car, so you can see the alley rad through there a little bit better, so that would look good as well. But I'm just liking that black stealth look. You can see the verniers through the clear cover. As I say, I've got some clear covers. Let me know in the comment section what you think I should do. So one thing I haven't checked out on the car yet is behind this grommet, this rubber behind the petrol cap. Now you can see here over the last 4 years or so, all the grit and the grime and everything that's been sitting in there, it normally rots them out, but if they've been looked after, they never happen. So I'm going to pull this out now, pull the petrol cap out, pull the grommet off. We're going to check behind there, make sure it's not all rotted, because a few cars have come in now and they've been rotten behind there, and they've had to have a replacement panel fitted on there. I'm hoping, obviously this is a good car, good straight car, low mileage car. It should be absolutely fine behind there. Just be able to clean it off, get rid of this nasty stuff, put some wax behind there, and it'll never happen again. So that's what I'm going to get off now. Just pull this off. Basically it's just a case of unscrewing, you know, the petrol cap, and then this grommet almost just pulls off. Literally just pull it towards yourself. I can't do it one-handed, so I'm going to pull that off and show you what's behind it. So that's it with the grommet pulled off, and you can see we're pretty lucky here. It's not rotted out, a little bit of surface rust just there. I'm going to give this a proper clean up now, put some polish and wax on there so none of this grime can build up again. You literally just pull this grommet off, it's easy enough, and it pops back on. I recommend you doing it to any of the cars that you've just bought, or you know, one of the ones you've been driving for a while. If it's got a load of grit and grime in here, they rot out really quick, so get some protection behind there. But there you go, that's looking a bit better. So what I've done is I used one of these bristle brushes. I like to use these, they're really soft, and just some fairy liquid water and a spray gun, and then I just go over it, obviously getting all the crevices, and make sure that when you're rinsing it off, you pop the petrol cap back on, because I knew someone that actually left it off, sprayed it with the hose, and then filled up his petrol tank with water, and that was an absolute nightmare. You do not want to be doing that. So I'm going to get some coats of polish in there now and a bit of wax just to protect it for the future. I've also just cleaned up for the grommet properly, so we can get that back in there. I'm yet to find these new. If I can, I will get hold of some. So that looks a lot better now. It's going to protect it for a few more months, and that's another job done properly. So a couple more jobs on the rear need doing. So you can see here on the SRI turbos, and I don't know why it is just the SRI turbos, but this actual surround that goes around the number plate and obviously for the boot lock, they always crack. Now I know obviously people pull on them because that's how they lift them up, but you can see the paint always cracks on them. Doesn't happen on the GSIs. You can see I've got a couple of them off the GSI, which is one on here, and it doesn't happen. Now that's not been painted, that's from factory like that. And they don't crack. It must be a different material on them. Another thing as well that's really bugged me is I've just noticed when I was washing the car yesterday, someone has tried pushing this car from the spoiler. And you can see what it's done to it. It's cracked. Luckily I've got another 2 or 3 spoilers, actually the Star Silver, and I'm going to swap that over now. But never push the car from its spoiler. You can see what it does to it. Nasty crack. Now that's an easy repair, but it's just bugging me, so I'm going to have to change that over. So I'm going to get onto that now. So I've just removed the plastic trim that comes on the back. It's just some T20 Talks, and I just wanted to show you something on the obviously the stock boot lid. Obviously it weighs an absolute ton, especially with the glass in it. Glass weighs a massive amount, and obviously you have to remove that trim to get to the back here, and all this locking mechanism and all these bars and everything. So look how easy it is to do it on my other car. So these are the extents that I went to lightweight this car. See how it's all been cut out. There's no locks, nothing in there, just aero catches, and then we've obviously got the plastic window in here as well. And that lightened up the boot so much that the struts, I even drilled some holes in here, and the struts literally, like the boot goes up a million mile an hour. If I take that spoiler off, it nearly hits you in the face. Well, I've just removed the spoiler from the car. You can see that crack that I was talking about that you could just about see. Obviously it was only sitting here, but it goes all the way round, and it's definitely where someone's obviously pushed the car, you know, at some point, and it's cracked it all the way round. It's an easy repair for a body shop or whatever. That can just be closed up, glued up, whatever, and repaired, but I ain't got time to do that at the minute. So luckily I've got about 10 different spoilers. I've chose these 2 of the best ones at the minute, and I think I'm going to go with this front one, give it a quick polish up. They're both good. They've got no cracks, no damage on them or whatever. The car actually looks quite weird without a spoiler on it, so it's like a base model car without a spoiler on it at the minute. And what I think I'm going to do as well, I'm going to change over the splitter here to my black one that's on my other car, just because I like that black look in the middle. It just looks a little bit too OEM at the minute. Just for a little while. If I don't like it, I can always change it back. They're easy enough. Literally just got some brackets around here, some brackets on the bumper, and then it bolts on underneath there with a metal bracket. Normally I run rolled out tailpipes, so that might affect the way it looks, but I've got this Miltech one on there at the minute, which is like almost a stock design. I would just cut it off and put a rolled out tailpipe on it, but as I showed you, this one's actually baffled inside. As you can see there, it's actually baffled inside, and the baffle's obviously quieten down the exhaust a little bit. Might actually be all right if I took the tailpipe off and put a rolled out one on there, not sure yet. So we're going to end this episode now with a big reveal of the new mod that's going to be all the rage soon with these cars. Don't go out and copy it too quick. If Wheeler Dealers was ever to get an SRI Turbo or an Astra GSI, I think this is the mod that they're going to go for. If you ever see the Escort Cosworth episode where they had that hideous secondary spoiler on the back, it absolutely ruined the car, made it look absolutely dreadful. I think they're going to go one step further and they're going to go 3 spoilers, but I ain't being funny. Looking at it from that angle there, that don't look far off of the Mark II Focus RS rear spoiler, the M Sport one. If you're guilty of putting one of them on there, the Mark II Focus RS is a lovely looking car. It really is a good looking car, but when they put them massive spoilers on the back, it does ruin it a little bit. So I think this is the mod. This is the new mod for the extra downforce on these cars. Here we go. You're going to see this in the McDonald's car parks all over the country now after seeing this video.